So we're down here at the Detailing Centre in Caloundra. The boys are nice enough to let me use the bay, and Dean's going to give me a hand polishing this thing up. So Dean's going to run us through the easy steps on... Easy steps, are they? They're pretty easy, aren't they?
Yeah, pretty straightforward, yeah.
Run us through the steps
Some would
on,
think.
on how to get this thing looking good.
Well, I guess you'll probably run the...
Pretty good, eh? So yeah, Dean, what have we got?
Yeah, g'day mate, how are ya?
Bonnet's looking pretty average. The paint on the whole car's pretty average, to be honest.
Look, Toyota's got a pretty good paint finish, but so what we're going to do is we'll give it a full wash. We'll use a decontamination gel on it. That's going to remove all the, ferrous particles, dirt, tar, iron filings, that sort of stuff. Give it a clay bar, wash it all up, dry it, and then inspect the paint and start a correction process.
Sweet as. Let's get stuck into it. Alright, so now the paint's decontaminated, we're going to run over with Dean's special detailer's drying tools. So what this will do is actually blow out hot air and help dry out any of the water, residual water that's sitting in the cracks or crevices around the windows or seals. So what you want is to get rid of that as much as possible, because when paint correcting, you'll send small vibrations through the paint which will allow water to seep out. The last thing you want is water behind or under your pads while polishing. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Don't do that. All right, so I've just done the first stage of compounding. So with a rotary polisher and a hard compound. Just have a look at that.
So stage 1 essentially.
Yeah, stage 1.
Taking out most of the deep scratches and swirls and whatnot.
But it's not perfect, so because this cuts into the paint quite hard, we have to go back and correct that now. The old school thing was, get in the car, cut and polish. Essentially the same thing, except what we're doing is we're polishing with dual action polishers, but really refining that paint system. And it's never going to be perfect, but for a 20-year-old paint job, we're going to get it about 80% better than what it is. So, yeah, pretty good results so far.
Yeah,
but let's have a look and we'll use the dual action.
So that was the rotary buffer before, now we're onto the dual action. So
yeah.
This is essentially the finishing polisher.
So dual action, force rotation, so a little bit different, just oscillates, but it's forced.
Yeah.
So it's going to clean up some of the rotary buffer trails that are left behind that you're never going to get out with a rotary. So. Still defect in the paint, but it looks a lot better and you've got the clarity now. little bit different.
It's crazy.
Yeah, boy.
Look at this bonnet, Dean. What do you think? What do you think about this bonnet, boys? Too far gone, or
No, like
pretty average?
It's there. Yeah, it's bad.
It's bad. It's not.
That's going to be the biggest improvement because you can show here in this corner.
Dude,
It's like a hailstorm's hit.
look at the quality.
Look at the definition in that paint.
That's nuts, man. You can feel it too. So that's the actual clear.
Fucked, eh?
Yep.
Do you know what, man? It probably had mold and shit all over it.
Come on, man. Surely we can just buff this thing off. So what do you got there, Dean? Handy little tool.
This is a this is one of the laser beams. What we do? It's not. But no, look. Even though I know paint, you know, and most good detailers out there probably do know what they're doing. I hope they know what they're doing. Anyway, you know, you can't be an expert on everything, so they're good to have these little things. It's a paint thickness gauge. Just measures the paint system for you and gives you a bit of an idea as to what's going on with the paint. Who knows the life of this car? It could have been repainted, or you'd never know. So, you know, instead of just jumping in, having a go at a buff and then burning through paint, it's always good to just have these paint thickness gauges.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
I'll show you how. It's super simple. This is a pretty cheap one. They're about 150 bucks. Just put it on, and it'll just give you a little measurement in which is just microns. So it'll just tell you what's going on. Like the industry standard used to be about 120 microns of paint. If you think of it this way, as manufacturers of a mass-produced vehicle, being Toyota, or you know, Toyota being Japanese, Suzuki. The thing is that I try and say to my customers, as a mass manufacturer of a vehicle, how would you maximise your profit margins? It's simple, you'd cut your quality. So that's what they do, they cut the quality on the paint system. Doesn't mean to say it's bad, it just means we have to work different in order to make, you know, the cars look shiny and to keep the customer happy. So yeah, essentially it's just good to have an idea as to what's going on with the paint.
How much you can cut off.
That's right, how much you can
You don't want to go too
slice
far.
into the paint. You know, if you've got scratches and swirls and defect, you don't just want to be a hero with a buff that you've got and you're an overnight expert. Like I've been doing this over 20 years.
Yeah.
And still, you know, I'm not an expert, but every car is different and you have to take the steps, you know, and that's what paint correction is. It's not just ripping a buff out and having a quick go at it.
Yeah.
There's probably 20 hours in getting this thing right.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'll show you what this little thing does. I'll just go on the non-test spot. If you zoom in. So what I generally do with this is just shoot for 5 or 6 points on the panel.
Yeah.
And just divide it by 5. We give you an average of what's going on. So we've got 82, 85, 97, 89, 90, 82. So we've got an average of about 85 microns of paint there, and that's from your bare metal to your top coat. So not a great deal of paint. How much is 100 microns of paint? It's about the thickness of a piece of paper, really. So it's super thin.
Just do a comparison of your new transporter here.
Yeah,
it's a brand new 23 transporter.
And this is a commercially painted vehicle. So, you know, they're tradie cars. It's just painted cheaply. What have we got here? 124, 126.
So already straight off the bat, it's a fair bit more than the old Cruiser.
100. How come they didn't put enough there? I'll ring them anyway later. Give them a call, I'm not happy.
So essentially the 80 on this that would still be from how it was back 20 years ago?
From factory, yeah. So let's face it, the older cars are the better cars, to be honest. Not to say that your new car's bad, but there's lots of room for revision. So, you know, you get a new car, you drive it for a couple of months, you wash it a handful of times, and all of a sudden your new car doesn't look new anymore.
Yeah.
Why do old cars look good, or most good old cars? Because they're actually built quality, they're painted quality, you know, and let's face it, have a look at how good it looks already.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is, have a look at some of these old cars just laying around. VE, Commodore.
Australian built, Australian paint.
So factory paint job, not ceramic coated, just gave it a detail today. 126.
Oh, that's
126.
far out. It's pretty even across the board, eh?
I think the painter did a good job and got it perfect on this one. Probably because he's an Aussie bloke. So yeah, it's pretty much over 100 microns of paint, which is industry standard. So it's passed the test. What's super interesting is you can't always believe these things. They can be calibrated, but check this out. It's an old 635 BMW. So yeah,
Wow.
that's
What? 500.
without looking any further, that's been repainted.
Yeah.
You can probably tell by lifting a bonnet up, checking the paint edge, and yeah, it's definitely been painted. Probably pay a lot of money for this back when it was built in the 80s. Essentially, it all comes back to budget. If you're buying a 30k car, you're not getting a 300k car paint job.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
if you bought a Ferrari, you'd expect quality and you'd definitely get it. But I think Toyotas are probably the best car on the road anyway.
Well, there you go. Not being biased at all, are we?
Do another bit. Yeah, so I actually did get paid to say that. And,
let's
there was a little bit of money involved actually. There
Yeah.
was just a little bit, about 150k, but that's fine.
So here's Dean buzzing through quickly with that rotary buffer, taking off that thick first layer of paint, bringing it back to where we want it to be. I'm following behind him each panel with the dual action, just trying to shine it up, take out the little scratches that he left behind. And that should give us a good finish to help seal on a coating straight after. While polishing, you always want to try and go straight up to down and side to side action rather than working in circles. That's going to help prevent any swirl marks. So you want to go to every extent possible to save that paint without making it worse than what it already is. All right, on the back, everyone loves the back. So let's talk about what we had to do here. So unfortunately, due to these badges being so big and overwhelming, we had to remove them so we could polish in and polish the boot correctly around them. But we're pretty happy with the result. We're going to order some new badges from Toyota and get them back on as soon as possible.
So what do you reckon, Dean? We've gone all right with the paint correction, eh?
Yeah, look, it's come up pretty good. Like, we did that 50-50 there, if you remember that. So that was we ended up doing a 3-stage paint correction. So essentially cut, polish, and then glazed on the machines, a couple of different pads. And it's come up really good. Like, it hasn't come up perfect, but it's not going to be perfect for its age. Sort of
Without respraying it or
yeah,
going
without
all the way.
respraying it and spending too much money. We didn't get that bonnet looking much better, so I'm gonna have that painted. But yeah, it's come up really good, and that you've got the pop factor. It's like super glossy, and most people don't see what we see as, I guess, detailers. So yeah, it's come up really nice. Have a look. You could probably just do a bonnet delete.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Yeah, just delete it. Like, everyone does the same thing these days, so if you just took it off, might look alright.
Yeah, pretty stoked. We're just going to throw a quick coating on now. Just
Yeah,
to
we'll
protect it a bit.
just put a 2-year coating on it. It's just gonna, like, really, I don't think the word coating it for protection is the idea. I think it's just sealing in the goodness of what we did with the polishing, and it's just going to be easy to wash for you, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully it'll add a little bit more gloss.
Yeah, sweet. The bumpers look unreal because they were resprayed.
Once it's all ceramic coated, I think what we'll do too is we'll go, like, you've got chips and whatnot, just from, stones, kids opening the doors. So we'll get some colour mixed up to the colour code of the vehicle, go through and brush touch it.
Yeah.
Should just make it look nice then.
Yeah. So that's what she's looking like at the end after the coating was thrown on. I was absolutely stoked with the outcome. Obviously the tint looks shocking, so believe it or not, the car went straight to the tint shop after this to get things sorted. So we went around with a nice new tint, but other than that, the paint turned out pretty good for its age. Definitely not perfect, but pretty good for an old car. Some dents in the doors that you can see there, so I'm going to try and get those paintless dent removed without spending an absolute fortune. So that's probably the next priority on the list, but for now it's looking pretty good and I'm stoked. So a huge shout out to the boys at the Detailing Centre and Dean himself. They've done an awesome job and I couldn't recommend them more than enough to anybody else who wanted to get their four-wheel drive, all car, underbody, rust proofed, paint corrected and ceramic coated.